Hello everybody, welcome to the group chat from Footy Accumulators with our friends from Betfair, Will Perry and former Bayern Munich and Aston Villa striker Alan McInally with you to pick the bones.
Hi guys.
The week's top football stories. And you got the tinsel up. Happy Christmas, you've gone early.
Yeah, I've gone, I've even put the light on. You can't really see it, but I've put the red on rather than the...
Lovely touch.
Just because, United play City at the weekend, I thought I'll go a little bit. Go on, Ollie. Go on, Ollie.
Roxanne, you got to put on the red light. Love it. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll tell you what, talking of the red light, let's start with Manchester United, okay?
Yeah.
Out of the Champions League, Al, at the group stage for the first time in 5 years. Manchester United, and look, this is not just coming from a Manchester City fan. I'm trying to stay as neutral as possible, but they are the most confusing club since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has been there. We're not just talking about this season. This happened last season under him as well. They'll go on a run where you're thinking, where's the limit for this team now? And they're going to, potentially be back in the title mix in a few months' time, and certainly top four. And then the next minute they'll go and lose games which you just don't expect. And I'm not saying RB Leipzig was an easy game, but they absolutely schooled them at home. They used the same formation to go and win at Paris Saint-Germain and against Leipzig at home. So you can't blame the formation. But what are Manchester United as a club, Al, is a serious question.
Well, I'm going to go back to exactly your introduction there. The most confusing Premier League team because, and I suppose we use Jekyll and Hyde. I don't know what's going to happen for Manchester United. I know you're going to tell me they're on this win run away from home, which is ridiculous. Although watching a couple of the games, you're thinking, well, you're not going to beat Southampton 2-0 down, and they do. They're not going to beat West Ham, and they do. Apart from some of the other results I've had, and you've just mentioned they went to Leipzig. Leipzig came in and they properly turned them over. In Europe, away from home, they maybe haven't been just as good. Although they did go to Paris and win, of course. And unfortunately, then got slapped in the face when Paris came to Manchester. But I genuinely can't answer it, mate. I don't think it's down to formation. I think it's just down to individual players and some mistakes that they've made during the game. But those mistakes at time have been absolutely brutal. And they can't keep going 2-0 down and winning games. I don't care what anybody says. And Solskjaer right now is probably the manager who is under the pressure most for his job in the Premiership.
And look, you do have to look at sort of fatigue and so on, and that's not an excuse that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer can use because everyone would just throw it, back against him. But they have played. Well, that was 4 games in 10 days. That is a lot. And look, but you look at their season. This is what just sort of illustrates how confusing they are as a team. They've played 18 games, right, in all competitions. They've won 11. They've lost 6, and they've just had the 1 draw. And like you mentioned that away record, the away record is, and I know that's the Manchester derby up next at home, but the away record is ridiculous. 9 wins on the spin consecutively in the Premier League away from home, which is where they are, which is why they are where they are in the Premier League table. And we have to put that in perspective because if they win the Manchester derby, right, they're suddenly back up in the Champions League picture again. And they're above City. They're above City as things stand. So they haven't had a bad season in terms of the domestic picture. But for a club like Manchester United to be out of the Champions League for the first time in 5 years in the group stage, that has got to be, one, financially a big hit and, demoralising for the players and everyone at the club, no?
Yeah, I think the money is a side issue for me, Will, although obviously it helps. But I think the fact that Manchester United don't qualify out the group stages for a club like Manchester United. Listen, I live in the Northwest. I have got so many Man United fans. And I don't mean a Man United fan that goes and, eats the prawn crackers and the prawn sandwiches. I mean guys that go home and away. I mean proper United fans.
Yeah.
And he texted me last night. He said, do you remember we were walking to the pub when we did the draw? And I said, yeah. And he went, and I said, well, that's us in the Europa Cup. And I went, nah, you'll be fine. And he was right. And he said, do you know what it is, Al? He said, it's not that we're not a particularly good team. He says, but we're not simply good enough at the moment. We have players who are, for Manchester United, not good enough. And I think a lot of the fans genuinely think that. I think they do. And then throw in the curveball that Pogba throws in. I mean, that's the last thing that Solskjaer wanted this week. Scores an unbelievably great goal. They win the game. And then him and his agent, well, not him, but his agent comes out. And if somebody says to me, his agent did it off his own back and Pogba knew nothing about it, you're in fairyland. He says, I'm not happy at Man United and I'm desperate to leave and blah, blah, blah. And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer must be like, for God's sakes, Paul, just turn it in for a bit. Puts him on the bench, comes on the other night, plays a big part, They don't qualify, and all of a sudden you think, oh no, everything's a disaster at Manchester United again. And he must have so much. He probably wakes up in the morning, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and as much as he's looking forward to getting to do the training, he must be like, I wonder what nonsense is going to happen to me today. The club is just, I think there's too many fractions. I'm not sure the left hand exactly knows what the right hand's doing.
Look, I mean, I'm going to go a step further than that. I mean, Solskjaer must be absolutely livid with that Pogba situation. And you can say it more than me. I'm Mr. Neutral. But, but when you look at Mino Raiola, and look, he's done it before. He's got a track record of doing this with his clients, with his footballers, right? But this is the worst possible time. They're playing a Champions League game, which is, they needed a point out, and they could have easily got a point from that game, right? They didn't need to win. They needed a point in Germany to get into the last 16. And then you've got the Manchester derby around the corner, which is huge for them, given that, psychologically and also just where they are in the table and what that would do for the club, with someone like Pogba on board. And he's been playing all right, let's be honest. He played all right against
to be honest, I didn't really think they played hugely badly against Leipzig. It's just that the first 30 minutes they got blown out of the water. Can happen in games.
But like you said, and like you had your agents back in the day as well, and I know it's changed a lot since then. But an agent knows exactly he is the mouthpiece of the client, of the footballer. There's no way that he's done that to spring a surprise. People used to say that this is the same guy. Well, no, they used to say it about Yaya Touré's agent. Remember the whole birthday cake?
Yeah.
Of course, the players know stuff about it. They know exactly what he's going to say, when he's going to say it, when he's going to drop that bomb of an interview. So what does that say? Because I'm listening to Phil Neville and people who love Manchester United, and they're saying it's untenable now. He's got to go. Get him out of the club.
Well, hang on a minute. About a year ago, and if you remember this, Rashford, who I adore, who I think's carried Manchester United for 18 months or so when he was 18 years old. I thought he was the best striker at the club and asked to do too much. Pogba takes a penalty and misses it because Rashford should be taking it. And I had a real go at Pogba saying, that is not running. I said, he wants his stats up, he wants to score, he wants to be the number one, rather than show a bit of leadership and say, yeah, go on, Marcus, go and get us another goal. I'll get other goals and do stuff for the team. This is before Bruno Fernandes gets to Manchester United. And I got pelters from the match. In fact, I hope you, listening, wherever you are going to apologise to me on Twitter. And then I said, I'm sorry, but I just don't see Pogba fitting in at Man United. It's not all about Pogba. It's about Man United and the team and the leadership he's meant to show within that because of the experience he's got. World Cup winner. I mean, throw them in. And then we come down the line a year later where nothing's been great for Pogba. It hasn't been a great marriage. And we're now at a situation where even the strongest Man United fan must be thinking, oh, for God's sakes, Paul, what a time to come out and have your agent say that. Do us a favour. And most of them now must be like, seriously, I think Alan McInally might have been right a year ago. It's just not going to work because I don't see that leadership from him within a huge football club. Go back 3 months, 2 months. Fernandes has got 2 goals. It's a penalty for Manchester United. There you go, Marcus. You need to be scoring goals more than I do.
Yeah.
That's leadership. Yeah. That is leadership. Now, I go back to, let's just quickly go back to the kind of point you were making about, I generally didn't think they played really badly against Leipzig. The first, obviously, 20, 25 minutes, 2-0 down and you're struggling, then Ole makes some changes, etc., etc. And incidentally, Will, and you'll probably agree with me here, there is a huge possibility that they'll turn Man City over at the weekend. Because Manchester United are not a bad football team. No. Getting the formation right is one thing that Ole has to do, but I think he's probably got that. He has. But playing the right players in the right holes is what you have to do for formation. And I think he has to genuinely now think, okay, I don't care Paul Pogba is as good as he is, and he is good, by the way. I don't not like Paul Pogba.
So he's not the most overrated player ever, according to Jamie Carragher.
No, I don't. No, I don't agree with that at all. I think Pogba is a proper football player. The biggest problem about Paul Pogba is what's between his ears, thinking, I am much better than this. How can you think that in Manchester United when you're buying the best players? Supposedly buying the best players. No, I don't think he's overrated, the most overrated player. I think Jamie's wrong there. And that might be just, the Liverpool glasses from Jamie talking. I think he's a good player. A fit for Man United, he is not. And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has to... I mean, we spoke about Mikel Arteta and Pep Guardiola a couple of times, well, you and I.
Yeah.
And Arteta has decided, and you and I also agree that a number 10 at Arsenal might be a good thing, and Ozil fits that bill, but Arteta's made the decision to say, out. I'm not having it. I need my squad together. Pep Guardiola's done it with players. I mean, I can't even believe he sold David Silva, albeit David Silva was there for 10, 12 years. But there's been positions in the team where he said, no, I'm not having them. And that's what Ole will have to be so brutal in things like that when players are trying to upset things. And Pogba's trying to upset things too much at the moment. And he's done it for too long. And I've said it for long enough. And maybe the best thing is for Man United and Paul Pogba to part ways, and Solskjaer maybe be given a little bit more time, because I know he's favourite in the bookies to lose his job, and get this team to where it wants to be.
But you're spot on. Having said all that about Paul Pogba, what he'll do, just like a couple of years ago, he'll probably dye his hair blue, play a pivotal role in the Manchester derby again, and then suddenly he'll be the hero. And that plays into this whole tag of Manchester United being this confusing club that you're not even sure with their star players, and Pogba included in that, what they're going to turn up. And the only consistency you can see, really, arguably Rashford and Bruno Fernandes. And if United didn't have Bruno Fernandes in that team, I'd be very, very confident going to Old Trafford as a City.
Yeah. By the way, Will, just on a side piece, if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer plays Pogba against Man City, I don't think he shows any real strength in himself. Because after your agent comes out and says you don't want to be at Man United, and he must have pulled Paul in and said, look, what's happening here? He's got to say to him, if you really think that, seriously, watch it from your house. We've got other players that actually want to be at Manchester United. And it'll be an interesting game. It's at 5:30 on Saturday night. I'll be coming home from whatever game I'm at, and I'll be glued watching it. But it'll be an interesting watch. And the pressure is still for City to beat them, because you quite rightly said, City right now are below Manchester United in the league.
Right, Arsenal. I know we talked a lot about Arsenal last week. They're in the bottom 6, Al. They're in the bottom 6 after 11 games. They haven't won a Premier League game. Right? Haven't won a Premier League game since the 1st of November, and we're nearly at Christmas. A huge couple of weeks, Alf, isn't it, for Arsenal? Particularly for Mikel Arteta. Obviously, the pressure is ramping up. Firstly, do you think that Arsenal would be anywhere near a situation where they'd consider swapping Arteta and getting rid of Arteta? It seems to me that he's got Edu and the board members on side, and he is still building. And we talked about the recruitment last week, that they would give him more time than they would the likes of Emery and predecessors.
Right, we'll make it short. I'm going to say no. Too early. Bringing new players in, building a new squad. But I don't know where Aubameyang's gone. And Arteta must be wondering where he's gone as well. Because he's looking as disinterested as you've ever seen him before. Because you know me, I still think he's really good. I don't know whether playing him on the left-hand side is just not where he wants to be, and get him in the middle and involve him all the time. Because the way they're playing at the moment, I don't know how many touches he's getting in the game. But, okay, I'm going on about players there. I'm going to say no. They stay with Arteta. Of course they do. It's way too early to get rid of him. But they must be worried about the position in the league for sure, especially, like you said. And that's a ridiculous start. No win since the 1st of November in the Premier League. Yeah.
And look, you've talked about this guy before, and I think you might be right, Al. And just from the outside, it seems to me that if Gabriel Martinelli is coming back into the team, he's played for the under-23s midweek at AFC Wimbledon. Really exciting, wasn't he, last year? I loved watching him play, as did you. He got 10 goals last season in all competitions, and not from not a lot of starts. Only 19 years old, young Brazilian lad. But he definitely has an eye for goal. And look, you could still play Aubameyang, couldn't you? I know maybe Saka maybe have to miss out or whatever, but you could put Aubameyang to the left, or even, as you said, put Aubameyang in behind in almost a 10 role, play Martinelli out top, and you could play Saka. That's an exciting attacking team if you've got the likes of Willian in there as well.
Listen, and I go back to what I said. Keep Aubameyang interested. Keep him almost the focal point of the team. Give him responsibilities that he knows he has to produce. Martinelli is one unbelievable good football player, honest to God. And incidentally, if you played him down the left-hand side, let's just say, and Tierney behind him as well, they'd be pretty strong down the left-hand side, because the boy Tierney can play, by the way. Don't worry about that. It's just where, again, I say about getting the right players to play in the right holes, and I think Arteta has to get... I'm still not... This Lacazette thing for me, I don't know whether that's working. Pepe for 70 million. Gee whiz, that's looking a lot of money right now. And there's certainly work for Arsenal to do, because at the moment in time, when I hear some of the results coming through, and Arsenal haven't done well in the last 3 or 4 games, I'm thinking to myself, soft in the middle. I don't see anybody getting angry with each other in the Arsenal squad. I know that's maybe not the modern day thing, just because modern day football is not a contact sport anymore, which is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, the other night, and I'm sorry to harp on, how Man United get a penalty, Mason Greenwood and in fact, the majority of Man United fans must have thought, what? And then their fullback, Luke Shaw, has the best tackle in the game, wins the ball and gets booked. I mean, it's a nonsense. But Arsenal need to properly roll their sleeves up and start making it more of a contact game and start pointing a few fingers at each other to make sure they start getting the best out of Arsenal, because at the moment in time, they just look as if they're too easy to roll over Arsenal.
And we talk about a big few weeks for Mikel Arteta. It's actually, a big probably month or so, because they've got some really tricky ones sandwiched in between some games, which they would think, look, we've got to win those games. And I mean, look at their next 4. They've got Dundalk, okay, in the Europa League. I mean, that would be a story, wouldn't they? If Dundalk calls an upset, wow.
No, that's not happening.
No, well, you heard it here first. Burnley, Southampton, and Everton after that. I mean, that's a run, but they have to beat Burnley at the Emirates. Look at their last few games there. They haven't won a game there for a month. More than that. Losing against Wolves.
Did you say Burnley, Everton, and Southampton?
Burnley, Everton, Southampton, the next 3 in the Prem. Yeah.
I mean, they are humongous games.
Burnley,
I mean, seriously. And by the way, in the Everton game, exactly the same. Everton have a big game at the weekend against Chelsea, and the way they're playing, you just never know. And then Southampton, of course, have just showed us that they've gone to Brighton, turned Brighton over, and they get another win. Vestergaard gets another goal, and all of a sudden you think, set pieces against Arsenal, Southampton. I mean, that'll be. I mean, okay, I'll throw this one at you then. I'll go maximum 4 points. What about you from those 3 games?
Out of those 3, I think they'll beat Burnley, so I think it's 3 from that.
Yeah, only because maybe the game's in London. If the game had been at Burnley, I might have thought you're getting 1 point out of 9.
But the way Arsenal are playing at home, you'd probably have it down as a Burnley win. I mean, I'm going to go for them to beat Burnley. I think they'll get something against Southampton and maybe a draw against Everton as well. So I'm going to go for 5 points from those 3 games. I think they'll go and
I don't think they'll beat Southampton.
That, by the way, after that little run, which it's not the worst run, is it? I know it's tricky when you analyse them individually, but after that, Chelsea.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Well, listen, it is the Premier Division after all. My God, as a football player, you look at some of the stats and some of the fixtures and think, yeah, looking forward to that one coming up. But normally you have to be on the ball constantly in the Premier Division because you don't really get a chance. I'm going to throw this one in, Will, and as much as we've been talking about Arsenal and I'm talking about some of the players that maybe haven't done their job that Mikel Arteta wants them to do, I'm kind of biased towards Mikel Arteta because I've known Mikel Arteta for a long time. When he was at Everton, when he was a coach, and every time I meet him, I've got a good relationship with Mikel Arteta, and I want him to do well. I have no allegiance to Arsenal apart from Paul Merson, but I genuinely want them to do well. But what I'm watching right now, and you always say to me, right, I'll give you a 10, or where are you going to put it? It wouldn't be anywhere near Arsenal at the moment, and he needs to start getting them to be the opposite that they are right now, which is that kind of soft underbelly and just too easy to roll over. That can't be the situation at Arsenal Football Club.
Yeah. Okay. Look, Al. Next, I want to talk to you about the season in general so far, and I want to make you make a few predictions, which is always good fun. Look, 11 games in, we're nearly a third of the way through this Premier League season, which is scary in itself.
Yeah.
Tottenham, Liverpool, Chelsea, and Leicester. Okay, they're the current top 4. Who's winning the title? 4.
I'm sorry for the delay, but I still think no Virgil van Dijk in the Premiership is a problem for Liverpool. And I'm going to go because they had a brilliant result, didn't they? That 4-0 against Wolves is fantastic. But I'm going to go for Liverpool to defend the title. I'm going to go Liverpool to win it. But I'm going to go for Chelsea to finish second. Wow. I really like what Frank's done there. I think they have goals all over the ship. over the ship. And there's still a couple of players I wouldn't play in the Chelsea team that I still think Frank is still trying to juggle a little bit at the middle of the park for himself, and get them, to be, the Chelsea of old when Frank was winning the title under Jose Mourinho. So I'll go Liverpool, Chelsea, City, because I think City will come back. They'll be strong, City.
Yeah. United getting there fourth?
No. Spurs are good. Spurs, the way Spurs play.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I again off camera have spoken about this. 3 shots Spurs had against, who did they beat?
Arsenal.
2-0 they won.
Two on target.
2 against City, beat City. So it's not necessarily that Harry Kane's having 20 shots, but defensively he's made them hard to beat, and they are rapid in breakaway football that will catch teams, and that's how Mourinho wants to play. And to be absolutely honest with
things about Tottenham, and their fans are dreaming of a first title since 1961, the first league title in 60 years. You're not even having them in the top 2.
No, I'm not, because I think when Chelsea, I know it's a long season. It's a long season for injuries and suspensions, and the world we live in at the moment, etc., etc. Look, you can't. Spurs haven't been near the title for goodness knows how many years, so I'm not going to throw them in there right now. Albeit it's a lovely position to be in at the moment in time, but I'm still going to go Liverpool, Chelsea, City, Spurs. That would be my top 4.
Okay, right, down the other end. Let's upset a few thousand people as well. So the bottom 3 currently, as it stands, and look, Burnley, I know you're a regular visitor to Burnley, so be careful what you say. The current 3 at the moment, Burnley, West Brom, and Sheffield United. And yes, I can hear the Burnley fans shouting at us, but we got a game in hand, and they have. And if they win that would take them out of the bottom 3 above Fulham and just behind Brighton on 9 points. So go on, you're 3 to go down. Be the Scrooge, the man with the tinsel over his painting. The Christmas sending down.
Yeah, Scrooge with the tinsel. I'm not going to go Burnley, because the last couple of games, Burnley have looked a little bit more like themselves. He's getting a couple of players back as well, Sean. Although it's going to be a difficult season for them. I think Fulham, they had a good result the other week there, Fulham, but I'm still going to go Fulham over the term to go down. I had at the very beginning, and you and I will look back at this list, I think I had Sheffield United finishing 10th or 9th or something like that.
Top 10, yeah.
This is a tough one now for them, genuinely, to scrap out of it. And the biggest problem is them putting the ball in the back of the net. And this will up everybody in Sheffield, or upset them, especially my big mate, who's a massive United fan, who wanted me to give him a mention the other night when Sheffield Wednesday got beat. He's that much of a United fan. I'm going to go for Sheffield to be relegated. And it's after what Chris Wilder's done there, it's a shame they've started it, such a bad start to the season. But how can they? I don't understand how they can get out of it when you can't put the ball in the back of the net. I really can't. The other one's West Brom for me. I know Slavan's, juggling the pack there a little bit. I haven't seen anything really in their team that I would expect that, they're going to be better than what they are. So, unfortunately for me, I'm going to go Sheffield, and I don't want to say them, but I think Burnley are stronger, and I'm going to go Fulham, and I'm going to go West Brom.
There you go. So, McInally going for Liverpool for the title, Sheffield United, West Brom, and Fulham to go down.
Hang on a minute. You're not getting away with this. Give me.
No, I agree with you.
Not the top end. What about the bottom end?
No, I agree. Do you know what? I absolutely agree. I've got it written down here as well. I've gone for, I think Burnley will get out of it, because they always do. And why would we ever back against Sean Dyche when he's got so much form of doing it before? I think Sheffield United, no way I had them down now. I'm the same as you. I didn't have them top 10, but I had them sort of 12th, 13th. And I think that 1 point out of 11 games, I mean, how do you get out of that? You need a goal scorer. McBurney's not doing that. And they've put all their eggs in the Brewster basket, and it's not working.
Well, but I know we're talking about something that's very difficult to predict, to be honest, because after all, you and I do the football accumulator every week and get 1 out of 4, for God's sakes. So the fact that we thought we could even say who's going to win the league or who's getting relegated is probably far from the truth. But I was going to say, Brighton have struggled a little bit over the last couple of weeks, Will. They get beat again by, and I know that Graham Potter has been given a lengthy contract and they want to play, and they do. When you watch Brighton, they are nice to watch, but they got beat by Southampton again. And all of a sudden, they're only just above the bottom 3. So there's plenty to take into consideration, but what I've seen so far from those 3 teams has not been good enough. And if they're going to stay in the Premier Division, then they're going to be like, I don't know, at least 40, 50, 60% better than what they are at the moment.
Yeah, but I mean, look, the Brighton fans would argue with you and say it's exactly what happened last year. They were struggling down,
Yeah.
had them to go down again. And don't forget, they've been missing Neil Maupay recently. You know, Welbeck's still not fully up to speed. He's sort of come in and learning what that team's all about. But Maupay's their main guy, isn't he? He's their talisman, their main scorer, and he's been out the team. And that they did it last year. And that Tony Bloom and the guys made that big decision to get rid of Chris Hughton because they didn't like the style of football, and they were willing to risk being down the bottom and playing nice football, but just about staying up, compared to just about staying up and playing football that people weren't willing to buy season tickets for. So
true. Last one, and you're only allowed to say one team, or sorry, your team. Yes or no? City win the title? Yes or no?
Oh, it's what
See how difficult it is.
I know, but what I genuinely believe and what I actually would like to.
Don't talk from in there. Don't talk from in there. Talk from what's behind here.
No, I'm going to say no. I'm going to say
there you go. That's all we need. Next on the agenda.
Don't get me wrong. We'll be in the mix, but I don't think we're going to do it. And I still don't think Liverpool are going to win it. I actually hope Spurs win it. I hope Spurs win the Premier League title. There we go. I said it. First title in 60 years. That's ridiculous for a club like Spurs. And I love Jose.
To be fair, everybody, it is Christmas and you're allowed to drink a little earlier. So obviously, the glue vine has been out while he's been having a piece of toast.
Right, well, I'll tell you who will be drinking and down in their sorrows is your old boys, Celtic, because those Celtic fans don't know what is going on. You tell me, as a Celtic boy, having been there and know what that club's all about, and I know it's difficult without the fans and it's so hard to kind of get any kind of atmosphere in these stadiums, but a run of 8 wins on the spin, right, in August up till the 2nd of October. That's a great run. It's what you expect from Celtic, isn't it? A run of 8 wins on the spin. That's kind of what they do and what they have done for the last 15 years.
Yeah.
But then they've had 2 wins in 12 from that point up to now. So a run of 8 on the spin winning, and then 2 wins in 12. So you can see where it's gone wrong. But what is going on? We talked about Neil Lennon last week. I've heard a lot of people this week saying that they need someone now that can get in there and get hands-on and coach these players and not just sit there and coast through seasons like he may have done before because it was only a one-horse race, and it's clearly not this season.
That seems to be the case. I've not worked with Neil Lennon, albeit that I know him, obviously, that he's not the man to coach these players better. There's been injuries, there's been suspensions, there's been really important players that haven't been available for Celtic. But a club like Celtic, to be quite honest with you, will really should be able to cope with 2 or 3 injuries, and that's not been the case. So maybe the squad, or not necessarily the depth of the squad, but the quality in the squad has not been right. And obviously, I always tell you this: anything Celtic does good exaggerates the problem at Rangers, and anything Rangers does good exaggerates the problem at Celtic. That's just the way it is. That's the way it always will be. But I must admit, at the weekend, Rangers played Ross County and absolutely turned them over 4-0, not a problem. And Celtic played St Johnstone. I think we're going to say St Johnstone. I'm sorry if I got this wrong. Draw 1-1.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, no. Because the Rangers game, I'm sure, was before the Celtic game. So you already know that Rangers have won. And then you go out, you draw with St Johnstone. With the greatest respect, Celtic have to be winning games at the moment in time against whoever, because Rangers have extended the lead at the top of the division. And that's a problem for me. Did you think that, are they not trying their absolute best? No football player, once the game starts 5 or 10 minutes in, doesn't give you your absolute best. They're always trying. Normally, you're always trying. It should be built into you that when the game starts, even if we go out and play in the garden, it might start as a friendly game, but it might end in a fight. You know what I mean? If you've got something about you, you're like, I want to win. You need to want to win. You can't have anything else. And at Celtic, you need to have a mentality where we've got to win. And that's not been the case. And it hasn't even looked as though it's the case. And I think Neil, for whatever reason, the 2 wins in 12 off the back of 8 straight wins, is as perplexing to him as anything is. Europe's been a problem for them. And translating back to the domestic league, they just haven't been able to do it. And to answer your question, what is wrong at Celtic? Maybe it is time for Neil to go, just maybe. And you know me, it's not something I would advocate because of the job he's done prior to that, and always seems to come up with the goods, and did last year under real stress circumstances and still managed to win the league. But Rangers look ominously good this year, and you've got to say the direction from and the signings of players from Gerrard at Rangers has definitely been better than what the investment from Celtic has been in football players.
Well, let's rub salt in the McInally wound then, shall we? And get you to praise Rangers, because Rangers have a huge lead, 13 points, unbeaten in 25 games. They haven't lost all season. They've drawn 4 games in all competitions. Like Celtic have got 2 games in hand, haven't they? But is it done and dusted already, the Scottish Premiership title? And is this the season? I'm thinking back to even not that long ago, the whole Duff and Phelps and the administration and the comeback of Rangers. Is this the shift of power season? 10 years since they last won the title.
Well, let's just say if Celtic were 13 points clear and you asked me the question, is the league all over? I'd say yes. Wouldn't you? You'd say yes. You'd say there's no chance anybody's catching. Now, as much as you think it pains me to have a go at Rangers, because of the likes of Gary McAllister, his assistant, and obviously my relationship with Stephen, inside me, I'm like, and I'm a long time out of Glasgow. Obviously my old team was Celtic and I want them to do well, but I don't really have any animosity to anybody up there. But the fact that they're doing so well, I'm kind of delighted for them. And it is a massive change of power in Glasgow that probably nobody would have thought would have happened for at least another 3 or 4 years. And it's happened this year. And they have done brilliant, absolutely brilliant. The stat you gave me there about the 4 draws and all the other wins, etc., just shows you how concentrated an effort they have had to try and be the power in Glasgow again. And just maybe they might have outfoxed Celtic in terms of recruitment. And you might have just thought that, I don't know whether Celtic thought they probably had it all their own way for another 2 years and they've been caught on the hop a little bit, Will, and that's why they're in the situation they are. But you've got to think that the players at Celtic have to knuckle down more and start winning football matches, because a draw against St Johnstone, a defeat against Ross County, a draw against Aberdeen when it looked as though you were going to win, takes away 6, 7, 8 points away from you, and then you think, how did that happen? Well, you've got to give everything you can possibly give for your football club. And at the moment in time, I don't think the Celtic players are doing that. I really genuinely don't. And the problem is Neil's taking the brunt of the whole lot because he's steering the ship. It's as simple as that. And it's the first time, genuinely, for ages, I've seen a lot of ex-football players coming out and said they think that Neil should be replaced. And that's exactly what happened.
Lock up the McInally doors for Christmas. You're going to look down out through the window. What's that in the garden? Is it Father Christmas? Is it Santa Claus? Oh no, it's all the Celtic fans. There's some hoops down there throwing mince pies at the windows.
Yeah, I don't like mince pies.
Okay, Acca time, McInally. We got 1 out of 4 last week. Well, you got 1 out of 2. I got none out of 2, but we're not going to talk
about that.
Christmas.
Listen, what getting one right is it's a going forward job, isn't it?
Sam Rosbottom from Betfair's here. Sam, to make our excuses, one, we're picking from 3 o'clock kickoff specifically on Saturday, and we can't really pick the out-and-out favourites. So look, we've dug ourselves enough of a big hole this season anyway. Okay, so this week, Sam, I'm going to go for Newcastle to beat West Brom, and I know that's a tricky one to pick potentially because Newcastle haven't been training as much as they would have liked to with all the COVID cases at the training ground, and they might not be up to full speed, but I'm going to go for a Newcastle win, so I'm hoping for some better odds to beat Slaven Bilic's West Brom, and for the leaders Bournemouth in the Championship to beat Huddersfield at home. What do you think about those two, Sam?
Just picking up on the Newcastle factor, I think on the other side of that, the players will be dying to get out there onto the pitch and play again. Footballers hate not playing, and they'll be looking forward to be back at St James's Park playing Premier League football. 23-20 they are to beat West Brom, who are really struggling at the minute. There was a glimmer of hope a couple of weeks ago when West Brom got a win, but since then, obviously, another defeat. They're 12-5 to beat Newcastle. The draw 11-5. Looking at the game in the Championship, Bournemouth obviously top of the table, but really sort of their form's been quite inconsistent. They are the odds-on favourites at 8-13 to beat Huddersfield, who are 4-1 to win in the draw, 3-1. But yeah, I think that's going to be an interesting one, and obviously, consistency is key in the Championship.
Al, I think it's fair to say that everyone who follows the Footy Accumulators on social media will be following our every step and following our every move with our hackers since March, by the way, since March, and we've only got one since March. Go on, what are the other two to complete it this week?
Well, I'm staying in the Championship with you, and I'm going to go for Middlesbrough to beat Millwall. Millwall get beat the other week there, or midweek was it? So weekend rather. And I think what he's done so far, Warnock at Middlesbrough, has been absolutely brilliant. So home form, I'm going to go for Borough to beat Millwall. And then I'm going to go down into the First Division. I was at Wigan the night they got absolutely battered Hull City, steadied the ship big time, and we were going quite well in the First Division. And they're at home to Shrewsbury, who have a new manager, and they are struggling big time. So I'm going to go for Hull at home to Shrewsbury and Borough to beat Millwall.
Sam, we're hoping you can boost it for us, but what's that saying?
Yeah, I am sure we can certainly do that. Just looking at the fixture in League One, Hull obviously flying top of the table, and Shrewsbury, just one win so far in 15 this season. Hull, unsurprisingly, the favourites at 4-7. The draw 3-1. Shrewsbury 9-2 to get something from the league leaders. Looking at the game in the Championship, Middlesbrough, they're the favourites in this one at 11-10, whereas Millwall a 5-2 chance at the draw 11-5. In that one again. Middlesbrough improved recently, but their form win, lose. They lost last time out, so fingers crossed they'll get that one and get the leg through in the accumulator. Just looking at that overall price, the fourfold is coming out at just over 10-1, and I'm sure we'll give that a boost.
Cheers, Sam. We can but hope, Alan. We can but hope. Right, Al, that's us done for another week. So go on, I've put my neck on the line and said I don't think City are going to win the title, even though I didn't want to say that. But do you think they're going to win the Manchester derby?
I was going to say to you, good luck at the weekend, Will. The ridiculous thing is that Manchester United's record against Man City has been pretty good, actually. And I've already stated I didn't think they played that badly against Leipzig, albeit the first half hour was. Put it this way: if they start the game for the first half hour as they did against Leipzig, then City will beat them. I'm going to go sit on the fence and say a draw, because I think that's a better result for Manchester United than it is for Man City.
Yeah,
it keeps them below.
Yeah, exactly. And it'll be interesting in the sense that obviously they've got the extra days recovery, haven't they? Because City playing in the Champions League, albeit we're already through top of the group and we're going to play a second.
Well, here's one. Sorry to interrupt you, but is Aguero okay? Aguero playing?
Oh, yeah. He's training. Whether he gives him a few minutes in the Champions League and then has him on the bench.
That's a big thing.
Can't see him starting.
Yeah, maybe not. And I go back to what I said. I'm hoping that Solskjaer really digs in and decides not to play Pogba, although it'll be a hard decision for him, because I still think Pogba is a wonderful player, and so does Solskjaer. But if he doesn't want to be at Manchester United, then you need to cut your, and play with the players that want to play at Manchester United. And Man City, he'll need everybody on board if he's going to get a positive result against Man City. But a good game Saturday night, but a really, really good game.
Got to get the fans back in soon as well. I was at Chelsea Leeds on Saturday, and then I was at the North London derby on Sunday, and obviously we had 2,000 fans in both those stadiums. And when someone first said to me, you got 2,000 in the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and it holds 62,000, I was thinking like, we're not even going to hear them. They were so vocal, and the way that these stadiums are built now, Al, the acoustics and everything, it just came down, and you could hear, all the songs, and it was brilliant. And it was such a moment of kind of reconnection with the clubs, and like a sign of hope and everything that we've gone through. So there's obviously not going to be any for the Manchester derby, but let's get Manchester into Tier 2 soon, everybody.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Cheers, Al. Always a pleasure, mate. See you next week.
Thanks, buddy.